Bleach, Thousand-Year Blood War. Part 2 wastes no time. It's chaos from the very first second. Yhwach's forces invade again, captains fall, Uryu switches sides, and the Royal Guard finally show us what they're capable of. But while the Soul Society burns, Ichigo is on a journey far above it, unlocking a power that's deeper than just Soul Reaper or Quincy. This is where everything shifts, and Ichigo is reborn.
My children, let us begin.
Prepare yourself.
Ichigo begins his training with Ichibe Hyosube, the captain of Squad 0. Meanwhile, Yhwach gathers the Quincy army to announce that he has chosen Uryu as his successor, causing discord between many of the Sternritters who considered Hashwalth more worthy for the post. Orihime and Chad train at Hueco Mundo, while Urahara researches the Quincy medallion. Ichibe leads Ichigo to a special place in the royal palace, which can only be accessed with permission from the Soul King in order to make him stronger. New head captain Shunsui Kyoraku gives Ichigo's human friends a soul ticket into the Soul Society in case Ichigo's spiritual pressure becomes too much for the human world to bear. Rukia and Renji continue their training in the royal palace, while Byakuya recovers with Kirinji's help. A dark dome engulfs the Seireitei, and the Quincy army returns for the next battle. Yhwach declares that he will retake the world in the next 9 days, as per the Quincy song, the Kaiser Gesang. The Vandenreich begin their second invasion of the Seireitei. Hashwalth orders the Sternritters, who stole Bankais, to defeat the captains they stole them from. Askin arrives in the 12th Squad barracks and explains that the Quincy hideout, the Vandenreich, was created with Quincy powers and is hidden within the shadows of the Seireitei. Mayuri and Nemu emerge from the former's secret lab, which was hidden in complete brightness, where he devised the countermeasures against the Quincy transportation techniques. Hashwalth confronts Shunsui and Nanao personally, but the latter has devised a powerful Kido spell to hold the Sternritter back. The Soul Reapers and Soldats are in all-out war on the streets of the Seireitei. Squad 10 Captain Toshiro Hitsugaya and Lieutenant Rangiku Matsumoto confront Baz B. Meanwhile, Squad 2 Lieutenant Marichio Omaeda tries to protect his little sister from Sternritter KBG-9, but Captain Soifon arrives to protect them. Hitsugaya and Rangiku combines their abilities to stop Baz B in his tracks, but they cannot compete with his powers. But Sternritter Ai Kang-do steps in to eliminate him with his own stolen Bankai. Suddenly, Urahara contacts Mayuri and reveals that he devised a way to retrieve the stolen Bankais. Kang-do reveals he has already incapacitated Rangiku and attempting to finish Hitsugaya with his Bankai while Bazbi leaves. Urahara arrives to the 12th Squad barracks and tells Mayuri about the Shinei-yaku, a black pill that temporarily hollowifies Bankais, thus turning them into poison for Quincy's, which he devised after noticing that Quilge could not control the reishi he absorbed from Arankars. Hitsugaya touches the pill sent to him and gradually regains his Bankai, now hollowified, defeating Kang-do and collapsing afterward. BG-9 attempts to harvest the incapacitated Soifon, but Omaeda gives her the pill and she uses her regained Bankai to defeat BG-9. Elsewhere, several dozen soldats surround Squad 5 Captain Shinji Hirako after killing his squad. This gives Shinji the opportunity to finally use his Bankai, Sakashima Yokoshima Happo Fusagari, which causes its targets to mistake comrades for enemies and enemies for comrades, thus forcing all soldats to kill each other. Sternritter E. Bambietta Basterbine leads her squadron of Sternritters in search of 7th Squad Captain Sajin Komamura. Due to her continued ranting, her squad abandons her. As Komamura arrives and claims he is in a hurry to avenge Yamamoto by killing Yhwach, Shinji arrives to send him off. Shinji uses his Shikai on Bambietta to completely disorient her and toy with her. Meanwhile, in the Soul Palace, Ichigo continues to step into the dark corridor while experiencing immeasurable pain, spiritual pressure, and visions of a man in a pool of reishi repeatedly, with the images becoming clearer and depicting the Soul King. Bambietta immediately blows Shinji with her Volständig powers. Komamura and 5th Squad Lieutenant Momo Hinamori step in, and the latter takes Shinji away. Bambietta explains that her ability is not bombs, but to explode anything her reishi projectiles touch. She blows Komamura's helmet away, revealing his new human form. Komamura explains that he gained his clan's secret humanization technique by ripping his own heart out and sacrificing it to the clan elder. As such, Komamura is virtually immortal and invulnerable while in human form. Komamura uses his Bankai to slam Bambietta with her own exploding reishi projectiles. Komamura hurries toward Yhwach, but his heart gives out and he turns into a completely non-human wolf form as his lieutenant, Tetsuzaemon Iba, carries him away. The dying Bambietta is taken away by her squad, while the defeated Kang-do and BG-9 are collected by Uryu. Haschwalth returns to Yhwach's side as well. Mask defeats his opponents as well, after support from his fan, James. Before he could kill them, though, Mask is stopped by the arrival of 9th Squad Captain Kensei Muguruma and 3rd Squad Captain Rojuro, Rose Otoribashi. Meanwhile, Ichibe tells Ichigo that he is experiencing the past of the Soul Society within the powers of the Soul King. Ichigo successfully passes through the corridor gate and goes to Senjumaru Shutara's palace. Shunsui orders the remaining Soul Reapers to regroup at safe locations with Mayuri's coordination. Kensei activates his Bankai, Tekken Tachikaze, to pummel Mask with. After a fleeting victory, Kensei is broken down and critically injured by Mask, who has risen due to James's cheering. After the wounded Hisagi warns them of James's role, Rose steps in and kills the fan. Mask is repeatedly attacked by a flurry of fire and water attacks, but realizes there should not exist a Zanpakuto that could control both. Rose affirms this, boasting that his Bankai is actually illusion-based, induced by sound. As such, Mask bursts his own eardrums, so that he then blasts a star-shaped hole through Rose. Before Mask could terminate the two captains, Renji blocks his attack easily. Rukia arrives as well, the two of them having finished their Squad Zero training. Mask activates his Volständig and uses his most powerful reishi attack on Renji, accidentally incinerating James too, but he blocks it with his new and true complete Bankai, So-o Zabimaru. Due to Zabimaru declining him completely beforehand, Renji could not fully wield it, but he is able and uses his new Bankai's technique, So-o Zabimaru, Zaga Teppo, and destroys Mask with it. Following Mask's death, Yhwach absorbs the reishi particles that remain of Sternritter M in front of Uryu before entering a shadow. Uryu questions Haschwalth's presence, but Haschwalth explains that not only he and Yhwach, but Yhwach and all Quincy's are connected. Haschwalth decides to explain what kind of being Yhwach is and where his powers come from. After completing his training with Squad Zero, Ichigo begins descending to the Seireite and informs Urahara of his arrival. Uryu discovers Haschwalth killing BG-9 and Kang-do for their failure. Haschwalth reveals that all those who are given a portion of Yhwach's soul have their powers, knowledge, and skills absorbed by Yhwach along with their soul upon dying. As Rukia scouts around the Seireite, she confronts Sternritter F.S. Nut, who is looking for Byakuya's Senbonzakura. As she is much stronger now and has learned what her Zanpakuto really does, specifically its ability to lower its user's temperature and anything she touches to absolute zero, she is able to freeze S. Nerd. Angered by Rukia's dismissal of fear, S activates his Quincy Volständig. When she is trapped because of a moment of fear, Byakuya steps in to recognize her growth. S taunts Byakuya, but he allows Rukia to stand on her own. She unleashes her dangerous Bankai, Haka no Togum, to defeat S. Byakuya helps Rukia control her power, so she will not sacrifice herself. While tending to Rose and Kensei, Isane and 11th Squad Lieutenant Yachiru Kusajishi are ambushed by a Sternritter. The Sternritter V, Gwenail Lee, explains that his ability is to remove himself from his opponent's senses, mind, and reality. However, he is increasingly annoyed when Yachiru attacks him on pure instinct as soon as he re-emerges to attack. Noting Lee's failure, the real Sternritter V Gremi Thumo appears in the barrier with Quincy and Rose, explaining that his ability is to turn into reality whatever he imagines. He imagines that Yachiru's bones are made of cookies, incapacitating her. Suddenly, Kenpachi bursts into the place and informs Isane of Unohana's death. Considering himself the strongest Sternritter, Gremi immediately challenges Kenpachi. He tries imagining him in a pool of water to drown him, but Kenpachi breaks out and slashes him. Gremi then imagines various guns and missiles and imagines another body for himself, doubling his power of imagination. He imagines a meteor coming to crash down on the Seiraitai, alarming both Soul Reapers and Quincy's. Kenpachi, having learned his Zanpakuto's name, Nozarashi, decides to unleash his Shikai, resembling an oversized meat cleaver, with which he obliterates the meteor. Gremi imagines over a dozen of himself, and he imagines Kenpachi in outer space. Though significantly injured, Kenpachi breaks through the imaginary space and slashes Gremi. Angered by his durability and strength, Gremi tries to imagine his body as strong as Kenpachi's, which in turn weaponized his own imagination against him, since he saw Kenpachi as an all-powerful monster, breaking his own body down. Though his internal organs are greatly injured, Kenpachi relentlessly searches for Yachiru, who has disappeared. He is ambushed by Sternritter T. Candice Catnip, Sternritter Z. Giselle Guvella, Sternritter P. Meninas McAllen, and Sternritter G. Liltato Lampard. Though initially resisting, Kenpachi is overwhelmed by their combined power. Ichigo suddenly crashes down in and effortlessly tosses the 4 Sternritters away from Kenpachi. Angered by Ichigo's status as a special war power along with Kenpachi, the 4 Sternritters activate their Quincy Volstendigs to face Ichigo, but none can lay a hand on him. When Candice charges up a giant lightning bolt, Ichigo combines 2 Getsuga Tensho from his 2 true Zanpakuto into a Getsuga Jujisho, cutting her arm off. When they try to regroup for another attack, Baz B and other Sternritters interfere the battle. While the Soul Reapers distract the Sternritters, Ichigo reaches to Yhwach, but Uryu prevents Ichigo from doing so. Chad and Orihime arrive from Hueco Mundo to support Ichigo. As Yhwach ascends with Hashwalth and Uryu, the others are left in awe. Yhwach's ascent to the Soul Palace blows everything and everyone in the vicinity away. Shunsui questions why Ichibei would even allow Yhwach to ascend so easily. Orihime and Chad rebuke Ichigo, while Urahara arrives to lead them to the 12th Division barracks, where Mayuri preemptively built a one-use replica of the Shiba clan's cannon to shoot Ichigo's group back up to the palace. Byakuya is surrounded by Candice and 2 more Quincy's, while Baz B antagonizes Renji and Rukia as soon as they emerge from the rubble. Iba breaks out of the rubble, having protected the wolf formerly known as Komamura. Giselle tries to goad Ikkaku and Yumichika into an attack, so they can become controlled, but when the latter exposes Giselle as being a male crossdresser, they are angered and summon the semi-conscious, undead Bambietta. Giselle explains that they can zombify, but a Quincy actually needs to be dead for them to control, so they personally executed Bambietta. Unable to stop her ability, the 2 are overwhelmed and about to be zombified until Mayuri and Nemu step in. Mayuri, having created a device to counteract Bambietta's ability, nullifies her use as a pawn. Mayuri then reveals his very own pawns. The resurrected Arankars effortlessly begin dispatching Giselle's zombies, so they summon the zombified Hitsugaya. Zombified Hitsugaya effortlessly beats Ikkaku, Yumichika, and Charlotte, but then Mayuri steps in and uses various drugs on Hitsugaya to slowly awaken his brain and take control over the zombie. Giselle summons their remaining zombies, Kenshi, Rose, and Rangiku. Tsuruchi, Lupi, and Dordoni, even the battle in Mayuri, is able to use his drugs to take the reins over them from Giselle, who is then impaled by one of them. Meanwhile, Byakuya uses his Bankai to defeat Candace, as well as Sternritter N, Robert Akatrone, and Sternritter U Nanana. Hisagi joins up with Byakuya, but then tries to attack him. Sternritter L Pepe Wakabrada, who uses the reishi to make virtually anything possessing a soul fall in love with him, took control over him, and then takes control over Meninas to punch Lil Tato away. When Pepe uses his ability on Senbon Sakura, the Zanpakuto turns against Byakuya as well, and Hisagi begins wielding it. When Byakuya is cornered, Mayuri and the zombified Soul Reapers arrive, with Kensei using his Bankai to dispatch Pepe. During this, Yhwach, Hashwalth, and Uryu arrive into the Soul Palace. In ancient times, Ichibe talks to the young Yhwach to sign a non-aggression treaty toward the Quincy's. Yhwach saw through his deception and questioned why the Soul Reapers enslaved the Soul King, a godly being, Yhwach's father. Ichibe then gave him the left arm of the Soul King to appease him, but Yhwach then decided to save his father by erasing him, along with the world. In the present, Senjumaru and her holy soldiers hold Yhwach, Hashwalth, and Uryu up. The Soldaten summoned by Hashwalth are killed by holy soldiers, but then Yhwach summons Sternritter W Nianzol Weasel from his shadow, who kills them, but is in turn immobilized and eliminated by Senjumaru. As Nianzol dies, Urahara fires the cannon to send Ichigo, Orihime, Chad, Yoruichi, and Ganju Shiba up to the royal palace. Yhwach then summons the Sternritter Elite Guard, the Schutzstaffel, composed of Sternritter X, Lila Barrow, Sternritter M, Gerard Valkyrie, Sternritter C, Pernita Parnkjaz, and the recently promoted Sternritter D, Askin Naklevar. Lila immediately uses his reishi sniper rifle to shoot Senjumaru in the head and blast down what he believes to be the personal palaces of the Squad Zero members. Senjumaru reveals herself to be alive and also explains that they are in fact in a fake soul palace. Hikifune, Kirinji, and Nimaya step in as well. Nimaya shows off a failed Zanpakuto he created long ago called Sayafushi, which is so sharp and smooth that no sheath can hold it. The Schutzstaffel attack Nimaya all at once, but he effortlessly kills them all. Yhwach uses his trump card to escape the trap and go up directly to Ichibe's palace. At the ruins of Squad 12 barracks, Urahara is joined by the remaining Visurd, as well as Yushiro Shihoin, Yoruichi's little brother and current head of the clan, so they could head up to the royal palace. Ichibe engages Yhwach in an aerial battle, revealing that his brush-shaped Zanpakuto does not cut physical objects, but their names and halves their power. So when he cuts Yhwach with it, his strength is also halved. Kirinji activates his Shikai and engages Hashwalth in battle, who is soon cut down. Uryu battles Senjumaru atop the branches, but his reign of Lichtregen is blocked by Senjumaru, who dispels the reishi back to Uryu. Nimaya is shocked by Askin's survival, who explains that his Shrift D makes him nigh immortal, allowing him to calculate the perfect lethal dose of any substance he takes into his body. By consuming his own blood, Askin makes a certain dosage of Nimaya's blood fatal to himself. However, Kirinji interrupts the battle by using his hot springs to replenish Nimaya's poisoned blood, who then kills Askin. Yhwach activates Auswalen to strip the remaining Soldaten and Sternritters in the Seirite, including Bambietta's group and Baz B, of their reishi and Shrift ability, thus resurrecting Hashwalth and all of the Schutzstaffel, who then activate their Vollständig. Meanwhile, in the Seirite's ruins, Shunsui leaves the post as the Soul Palace is the true target and joins 13th Squad Captain Jushiro Ukitake, who used a bandage called kamikake to wrap his body up to combat his illness so he could join the battle. Leela immediately shoots Nimaya, who theorizes that Leela being able to shoot him now is part of the power-up received by Auswählen. But Leela explains that his Schrift X is the ability to shoot anything in the distance between his muzzle and what he considers to be his target, which is why it cannot be blocked, proven by Hikifune and Kirinji's attempt to shield Nemaya with their Zanpakuto failing, so Senjumaru flies off with the injured Nemaya and heals him. Hikifune overgrows the cage, so everyone is separated into 1-versus-1 battles. Senjumaru manages to use her sewing needle to immobilize Gerard, while Askin adopts a hit-and-run tactic in his matchup with Kirinji and Nemaya attacks before standing on his barrel to slash him. Ichibe uses Hado and various attacks in order to move in close and injure Yhwach, after which he activates his Shikai, turning his brush into a sort of glaive that can splash black ink around. Gerard breaks free when Senjumaru tries to pierce his heart and pummels her into the ground. Because Kirinji is continuously underestimating him, Askin is able to slip behind him and shoot him through. As Leela catches up to his movement speed, Nemaya tries to approach Leela head-on by placing Yhwach in the same crosshairs, but Leela shoots through Nemaya, since his ability extends only to his target. Yhwach absorbs Ichibe's ink ability to turn it on him. Nemaya explains that if they would fight with their true power, it could destroy the heavens, so they have connected their lives and sealed away their true Zanpakuto. Nemaya designates Senjumaru to handle the Quincy's, and he, Kirinji, and Hikifune kill themselves to release the seal on them, and empower Senjumaru with their collective, who uses her Bankai, Shatatsu Karagara Shigarami no Tsuji, to trap the Quincy's in a void dimension. The activation of her Bankai causes tremors in the Seireitei, human world, and Hueco Mundo at the same time. In her Bankai dimension, Senjumaru weaves her cloth to create specific methods with which she kills the Schutzstaffel, Haschwalth, and seemingly Uryu. Ichibe covers Yhwach in black ink with a giant splash, revealing that when he activates his Shikai, its ability Black would absorb the color of black from all living things in all worlds to provide ink. Ichibe then activates his Shin-Uchi, a precursor to Bankai's, his Zanpakuto being the first to ever evolve to such a state, Shirafude Ichimonji, with which he can rename the things his Shikai painted over to turn them nameless, and uses this to rename Yhwach to a frail being, a black ant. He then crushes Yhwach under his foot like a bug and tosses him off of the Soul Palace.